Have you ever considered or thought that you are not from planet Earth? I think like that. And I think like that for many reasons. And one of them is to do with the whole evolutionary thing, that not a single trace can be found of the intermediary of us from these primates that we're supposed to have derived from. But the whole thing about our intelligence being, vastly greater than theirs, and all the hypotheses they put forward as to how that came about, well, I'm more inclined to think that interdimensional beings created us, i.e. the Anunnaki. Those of you familiar with that story, seems just as feasible as anything else. More feasible than the Bible and Jesus walking on water and all that sort of stuff. But, outside of the great differences between the human being and the primate, there are many things that would kill the human being if we ate them. And many millions have been unfortunate to find out which things don't agree with us, whether it's fungi or plants, shrubs, shoots or roots, many things we just can't eat. Why is it that all of these animals, every other single animal, never dies of poisoning? Because they know instinctively what they can't and shouldn't eat. And so have you ever heard of a horse or a goat or a cow dying from eating poisonous hemlock? I never have, never heard of a single squeak about that. And yet these plants have been so pervasive all over Britain and Europe and the world for millions of years probably. So these animals, through their genetic imparting of information, know intuitively, instinctively, that they can't touch those plants. And many of the fungi that death caps and destroying angels and those sort of things, you see deer and wild pigs and squirrels and rabbits, many animals will have a go at some fungi. And squirrels like a bit of fungi, but again, never heard of any other animals being poisoned by these things. It's only about the human being. And in recent times I've been harvesting acorns because I'm planting these acorns and hopefully growing a lot of oak trees which are going to plant around, but also I'm going to be eating them because humans have ate acorns for as long as we've been on this planet, doubtless. And it is said that we can't eat the acorns without preparing them in a certain way, because they have poisonous tannins in them. And what we have to do with the acorns, we take them out of the shell and we can either boil them up or we can soak them in water. But when we do this, either way, the brown tannins come out, and then you pour that water away and you keep replenishing the water until no brown tannins can be seen, so the water's clear. That way the bitterness of the acorns has gone, and the toxins, which apparently you can't find, I couldn't in any case, hardly anything, you just find the same old lines. Oh, toxic to humans if you eat too many. Well, how much is too many? And how toxic? It says toxic to various internal organs, liver, kidneys, this and the other. So it seems like there hasn't been any research on it really. But maybe there has, and I haven't dug deep enough. But squirrels don't have a problem with eating raw acorns. And so when you read about them it is said, oh, because they have created that thing that it won't bother them anymore. And if humans have been around for 1.5 million years in their current state of development, then you would have thought 1.5 million years would have been enough to change certain facets about our digestive system and how we deal with these toxins. Squirrels can eat them all day long. Some animals can't eat them, like horses can't eat them, dogs can't eat them, apparently, and so it's, I don't know, I suppose it's reasonable that dogs wouldn't have got this immunity to them, but horses, wild in the old days, and so you would have thought, well, maybe horses would have built up this immunity to them. But it seems some animals do and some animals don't. And I wonder why that is, because if you look at nature being genius and its whole purpose is survival, then you would think that, a horse is pretty well similar to a human being in lots of respects. The genetic makeup, and so why hasn't the intelligence spread throughout the animal kingdom? Why don't human beings know instinctively what fungi and plants we can eat and what we can't? Why is it that other animals can? And I wonder if any of you know about animals making mistakes like this. How many horses have actually died from eating copious amounts of acorns? How did they determine that from the autopsy? Was their liver or kidneys, poisoned or what? But when we look at the human being, there's very little which is instinctive and intuitive about the foods that we can eat, and it's not a good indication if something looks so terrible, even though that can often be an indication, because nature has a curious way of colouring animals in a particular way that make them look like fuck, don't be eating that one. But it's not a foregone conclusion. And so I think, well, we have to look for another reason then. 1.5 million years of humans being in the condition we're in and deriving from apes. So you would have thought that apes would have been eating copious amounts of acorns, because acorns are found in many, many countries, continents on the world. And so I wonder if apes have the immunity. Because if they did have, then why didn't they pass that on to us genetically? So, lots of questions to ask about this stuff. But what do we feel intuitively? Well, intuitively, if we go back ancestrally, many thousands of years, then pretty well all over the globe, we've been intuitive about a higher being, that we are a higher being, we are in contact with higher beings, and there are many, many myriad of varieties of invisible entities which have been written about copiously. And so we're intuitive about that, but we're not intuitive about these little black berries. If you eat, probably that many or double that many, you probably die from cyanide poisoning, because within the seeds there's cyanide, and you can eat these, but you have to boil them. Now, when did we start to boil water? When did we start to decide that, oh, we're going to put these in a nice soup or something? And then, of course, our primate ancestors discovered that, oh, if you boil them, you don't die. They wouldn't really know why, would they? But they'd know that if you boiled them, you wouldn't die. And so all this trial and error that humans have done throughout the millennia, throughout, a million years, let's say, we've learnt by trial and error, but none of it was intuitive or instinctive. And so we have to ask why that is. If we evolved here and we are indigenous to this globe, to this planet, then you would have thought that nature being so brilliant to give us these eyes and these ears and all these organs and everything, the miracle that we are, we put ourselves at risk by our innate ignorance because we can't discern between a poisonous fungi and an edible one. That just don't make rational sense to me. And the only way we've survived is by our intelligence observing, hang on, family members died, sometimes in really great pain from stomach, so okay, must have been something that they ate. What did they eat? Oh, there was out foraging, these little black berries. Oh, okay, let's go and have a look what they are then. Right then, well, best not be eating them. Until somebody, how do they find these things out? Who risks it? So at some stage, somebody, probably it just happenstance, probably, ignorant villagers starving, they picked these berries and then they just decided to boil them up. And they knew that they could eat them when they were boiled up. But then some people were eating them while they were picking them and they got really violently sick. And so it's kind of like, wow, well, it seems that you can't eat them before they're boiled. So, I mean, that's a simple case of deduction. It's not too difficult to work out where that derived from. But knowing stuff we can eat and what we can't eat instinctively and intuitively isn't a gift that we've been given. And so these acorns, by the way, I've been eating them raw, and they are actually, they are tasty. They are a nice nut, aside from their bitterness. And it's not that bitter, it's only a mild bitterness. And it's not intolerable. And, if you was hungry, then you would most certainly eat several handfuls of them. And then, I don't know, over a period of weeks or months, you might die of kidney or liver poisoning. And people wouldn't really know what was the reason for their dying unless they did a lot of research into it, and discovered who's died, what did they eat? Did they eat acorns? Yes. Who didn't die? Oh, those people over there who never ate acorns. Okay, this sort of thing. But yeah, curious. I'm going to be making some foods out of acorns. You can grind them up and make flour, make cakes and stuff like that. I'm not going to be making cakes out of flour. I'm going to be making some sort of conglomerate with the nut, ground in a small way, but cut quite coarse. And I'll mix them with maybe some honey and I don't know, something else what I feel is compatible. Maybe dates, you can make nice little morsels out of dates and almonds and walnuts and honey and maybe a bit of vanilla or something like that, and you put them in ice cube producers in the freezer, and then you bring them out and they're nice little dessert type things. So anyway, I just thought I'd have a few words about that whilst I'm thinking about it. But yeah, acorns, they're nice to eat if you can stand the bitterness. Hi, lots of people, they're very fussy about, oh, this tastes shit and that tastes shit, and they can't even take supplements without them being in sweet little gummies. It's kind of ridiculous, really. But anyway, yeah, if you are a natural forager, then I don't think you know, a small handful of acorns is going to cause any issues. And if you want to eat more, then just make sure you bleed them of their tannins.